Hey everyone, it's Jason and this is your midweek cruise news update. And we have a passenger that was voted off their cruise, another passenger that was scammed in Cozumel, and I want to hear from you. Have you ever been threatened in any of the ports of call? So cruise story number one, and this is a buyer beware, as we have a cruise passenger that was scammed in Cozumel. So a person related a story on Reddit about how they were in Cozumel and they wanted to do some shopping with their friends. And they went into a jewelry store and they bought diamonds. So they said when they were buying their diamonds, said very pleasant father and son owners of this jewelry store. They gave them their credit card. They asked, and this was red flag number one, for their ID. And, that's fine. But then they said they felt a little uncomfortable as they were copying down all their information off of their ID. Then red flag number two, they said they could not provide a certificate of authenticity because they were working off a consignment and didn't have it as of yet. Now, obviously, a certificate of authenticity is only worth the paper that it's written on. Doesn't have any real value, but they didn't have that. Now, personally for me, if you have these red flags, you walk out. But they didn't. So they said they were communicating after they got back from their cruise through Messenger, and they said it's been a couple weeks. They haven't gotten no authenticity certificate yet. And so they took it to a local jeweler, and the jeweler said it's fake. So they spent thousands of dollars on fake diamonds. Now, they said shame on them, obviously, but they were told by the owners that they were associated with the cruise line because they were in the port area. Folks, these owners will lie to you. They say they are approved by the cruise lines. They will say anything to get your money. Second of all, you don't need to be buying diamonds in these islands, especially if you don't know what you're looking for. It's just a sad situation. I really feel bad for her. She's like, hey, look, I know I made a mistake, and I'm not here to hear I made a mistake, but I'm more asking what I should do. So has this ever happened to you? Have you ever, when you were newer maybe to cruising, get scammed in one of the ports? And how did you take care of that? Let me know in the comments. So cruise story number two, and this one's got me kind of fired up. Imagine being voted off your cruise. So this is what happened to Jenny Phoenix. She had signed up for the Villa V Odyssey. 3.5-year cruise around the world, many different stops. Supposedly an amazing, amazing cruise. She did say she was on a private messaging app. Now, understand this cruise ship was supposed to leave on May 15th. It's September 18th, and it still hasn't left. In fact, on September 10th, it did sea trials and failed. Did not pass the sea trials. So how many more millions are they going to have to dump into this cruise ship? They did not have the right estimate, obviously, of how much work the ship would have needed. It's a 30-year-old cruise ship from Fred Olsen Line that sat because of the pandemic for 2 to 3 years. It needed major work. And they thought they were going to have this done in, I believe, 2.5 months. Well, obviously now it's been almost 7 months of work. And it's probably going to need a couple more months. Let's face it. So she was negative in a private messaging app with other passengers. She was outspoken. She was vocal about it. She 100% said that was the case. Well, founding members or passengers on the cruise decided to vote her off of it. Apparently, they're happy with sitting in a hotel in Ireland for months, doing nothing. You're more worried about a passenger being upset and vocal and outspoken about you not doing your job than doing your job. Your job is to get the cruise ship and get people on it and get it right. You have absolutely 100% failed, and you kick someone off. I don't care if she's out there in the media saying things, and she's not. And when they interviewed her, she didn't even say anything about what she said. She just said she was outspoken about some of the situations and how long it's taken. Amazing to me that they would vote her off. How do you feel about this? So before I get to cruise story number 3, I would ask that you please like this video, as it does help the channel grow. Also, consider subscribing, as we're trying to hit 120,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. If you could help me do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks so much. So cruise story number 3, and I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever been threatened in one of the ports of call? So this story happened in Sitka, Alaska. What happened is this passenger said they got off their ship because they heard that the lines would be long to be bussed into town. They said there was no lines, they got into town, and it was really quiet. And they were walking across, they were going to walk across the street, and they saw that there was a crosswalk, and they started to walk up to it, and a car stops and waves them over. It's a little small town in Alaska. No big deal. So they walk across, the car behind them goes, and they see a car coming. And the car is flying. It's a 25-mile-an-hour zone. They accelerate. So the passenger said, hey, we waited. We're not going to cross in front of them. And they said the lady was gesturing to them, that's all I'll say, and swerved at them. Went into their lane, and last second swerved back. What would you have done if that happened to you? They said they were totally perplexed by this. They were blown away. Now, they were right near the Heritage Center, walking across right there. There's hardly any traffic there. We were just there. Can you imagine someone doing that because you're upset over cruise passengers? There was no traffic on the roads. And they didn't have to stop. They could have just kept going. So they went into their lane. They said it happened so quick they didn't really even have time to react. But all it would have taken was them not to rip it back real quick. And they were gesturing them the whole time. What's wrong with people? Now, the passenger was asked, hey, did you get their license plate? What? And they didn't. So they only caught a couple numbers. It was Alaska plate, and it was a black Subaru SUV. Now, you might be asking, how do you know so much about this? Because it happened to us. That was our experience, or mine, in Sitka, Alaska. I have to tell you, when that happened, I was ticked. I wanted to go back to the ship and have nothing to do with it. Now, I have a wife that does talk some sense into me. She said, look, we paid for the excursion. Let's just go on it. We've heard it's beautiful. And I am so glad we did. We actually had an excursion with Yvonne. We did it through shoreexcursionsgroup.com, and I'll put a link to it. It was amazing. Once I got out of town, I told her about it. She apologized. She goes, there is a group that do not like cruise ship passengers, and it's unfortunate, but most of us do not feel that way. We enjoy the cruise ship passengers. We enjoy showing our beautiful area to the passengers, and it was gorgeous. It was a great tour. I would 100% do that. I'd actually ask her if she could pick me up at the cruise ship port next time, because I want nothing to do with going into that town. What do you guys think of that? And have you ever been threatened in any of the ports like this? I know people have, but it blew me away. That was one of my first experiences of feeling something like that. Can't wait to hear from you in the comments. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for the support. It does mean a lot to me. And I can't wait to tell you more about Alaska. That is going to be coming up soon in the following days and weeks. So I appreciate you guys once again. Until I talk to you next time, happy cruising.